On 30 days to your first website design, we're going to take a look at web typography. I'm Ian Yates, and from all of us here at Touch Plus, thanks for watching. Hi guys, welcome back to 30 days to your first website design, a Touch Plus premium course. I'm Ian Yates, and today we're going to talk about web typography. We'll begin as always by taking a quick look at what we're going to cover in this video. To start off with, we'll look at the state of typography on the web at the moment and why it's so exciting for you as a designer. We'll look at some examples, and then we'll source some interesting fonts of our own to use in our design. Then, as ever, you'll find yourself presented with a little assignment. Now, we live in exciting times where web typography is concerned. For as long as the web can remember, we've been almost entirely limited to using the fonts which our users have on their systems. Browsers have always needed to grab the user's own fonts for displaying content. We couldn't therefore get much more adventurous than using Arial or Times New Roman or Georgia, and if we did, the most reliable way was to use images. As more browsers adopt CSS3, however, we're able to use what's called font face and grab fonts from remote locations. The technology has actually been around for a long time, in CSS2 for example, but only now are we starting to see browsers implementing it. There are several services you can use to benefit from font face. Some require you to host your font files on a web server. Others, such as Google's Web Font API, which we'll be looking at, host the files for you, so all you have to do is point at them when it comes to building your web page. It's great news that we can get creative with font choices. We can use type to grab attention, to add style to a page, to create a unique look. But don't forget what it's there for in the first place, to be read. Don't attack a page with all manner of elaborate fonts, only to neglect the basics, colour and contrast, font size, line height. Remember to keep your typography legible. Let's now look at some examples of effective typography on the web. First example here is thrivesolo.com, understated and graceful. Then we have ryanchef.net, a rich and intriguing use of typography there. jrvelasco.com, a more grungy, moody and impactful effect there. Then we have gulp.in, another rich and varied experimental site, visually very engaging. Lastly, we've got designinfluence.org, just to show that you don't even have to go fancy. Web typography is about selecting the right combination of fonts to achieve your communication aims. Now we're going to use Google Web Fonts to spice up our design, so let's head on over there right now. We open up our browser and you'll want to go to google.com/webfonts. Now you can see instantly that there are tons of fonts available for you to use. You can browse through them and grab them for all kinds of uses. Now we're going to use Arial for our body text. That's a standard font. It's legible, it's clean, it's familiar, but we're going to be looking for two things to add some relish. Firstly, we could do with a striking, solid but clean non-serif font for our testimonial, and then a decorative serif typeface for the occasional flourish. I've chosen Lato or Lato, I have no idea how that's pronounced, which you can see there. That's going to be for our testimonials. And then, actually let me just add that to my collection straight away. And then for the flourishes, I've opted for the ever popular Droid Serif. There it is. I'm going to add that to my collection now. Now we can use them easily enough when it comes to building our HTML and CSS, but for now we need to grab them and put them on our own system in order to use them in our design. We can do that here at Google, or we can head over to another service such as Font Squirrel, where we can grab the fonts for download. So having selected my fonts, I'm now going to choose to use them, and you can see there the page load time illustrated on this very clear sort of speedometer, thermometer gauge thing. Now as I select more and more fonts, you'll see the page load time increasing. That's something to bear in mind. You don't want to totally overload your web pages with a million fonts if you don't really need them. Now for our Lato or Lato, I'm only going to need the normal and the bold variants. The Droid Serif, I actually only need the italic. So I'm going to download those, by hitting download your collection. You're once again reminded that you don't actually need to download the fonts in order to use them on the web, but we do need to use them on our system. So we're going to grab those as a zip file and very quickly they're downloaded to our system. So we're going to move over now into Photoshop and just make quick use of them in our existing layout. So we've got here the layout PSD, which you'll recognize from our previous video. I'm just going to make my grid once again visible and bring up my guides. And I'm going to zoom in on my testimonials area, which you'll remember we had here. So I've pre-installed my fonts, which is extremely useful. I'm going to select my Lato or whatever it was called, and I'm going to drag an area. Where are we going from? This is going to be the edge of our page, so let's just drag an area in here and we'll use up these columns here. And now I need to make sure that our text is aligned to the left. It's actually going to be an awful lot bigger than that for our testimonials, so I'll make it 58, and actually it's got a much bigger line height than that, just to make it slightly more attractive. The colour is going to adhere to our dark green, which we picked from Cooler. Okay, so now I'm just going to type, what did I have in my testimonial example? Great service, they make me smile every time. Now you can see that I've not selected the correct font already. Yes, I have. There we go. What did I say? Bold. Alright, there we go. And that's going to be my testimonial. I'm now going to add just a little speech mark to clarify what we're looking at there. But instead of using the Lato for that, I'm going to use our Droid Serif. Let's just increase the size of that to 80. We'll line that up with the logo there. And we'll bring that across. Now lastly, I just need to attribute that to somebody, so we're going to add here somebody's name, whatever. Okay, that's going to be in our droid again, droid serif and italic, and we're going to make that much smaller at 18 pixels. It needs to be slightly less dark than that as well, I think, although I actually quite like that. Let's leave that like that. So I'll bring this along here, something along those lines. Now we'll get rid of our guides here, get rid of our grid once again, and that, as you can see, is a great little combination of typefaces which has achieved pretty much what we were after. Impactful testimonial there, with some little decorative flourishes, and all achieved with web fonts. Brilliant. Okay, it's time for some further reading, so as usual I'm going to jump back to the presentation here. Now this is another article on Web Design Tuts. This one by Max talks about fonts on the web, where to use them and how to select them properly. Now before we jump into the next video, it's assignment time again. Now as expected, I want you to go and grab the two typefaces we talked about, Lato and Droid Serif, then experiment with adding a testimonial to the upper region of our layout PSD. Next time on 30 Days to Your First Website Design, we're going to continue with the Site Elements stage and look at our Features section. I'm Ian Yates, and from all of us at Tuts Plus, thank you for watching. Hi guys, welcome back to 30 Days to Your First Website Design, a Tuts Plus premium course. I'm Ian Yates, and today we're going to talk about the Features section. Let's take a quick look at what we're going to cover in this video. Well, there's very little theory to wade through with this one, so we'll take a look at a couple of feature section examples, and then we'll dive right into our layout PSD to work on our own features section. Then, as always, I'm going to ask you to complete an assignment before we attack the next video. Now, the purpose of a features section is pretty straightforward. It's there to grab users' attention. It's placed usually in direct line of sight upon opening the home page, informing the user of something interesting and usually suggesting a follow-up action. We've mentioned calls to action before, and this is a classic example of where to position one. A tempting link which takes the user further towards completing a goal. Take, for example, Theme Forest. Its feature section informs first-time visitors of the site's performance rate and offers several options to take the user further. Then we have the Firefox homepage at mozilla.org/firefox. Here, the feature section is used to house a large strapline plus a conspicuous call to action. Often, sites will use features section to display a slideshow or a video. Excellent ways of maximizing content within a limited area and adding an element of dynamism too. So, enough of this talking. You've seen enough slides to last a lifetime. Let's open up Photoshop and continue our layout. If you recall our sketch, we'll be looking at finishing the testimonials and adding some details about the team. So we'll exit from our presentation and we'll open up Photoshop here, continuing on from where we were last time. Here we have our layout PSD. Okay, we're going to be working in our features folder here. So let's begin by separating off our testimonials area from our team information section there. So we're going to do that with a simple horizontal rule, which we'll do in the form of a 1 pixel line directly on, let's just sample that, directly on this guideline here. We'll hold down Shift in order to restrict the movement along the axis, and that should be as simple as that. Let's just remove our, there we go, that's fairly clear. Now let's add a call to action in our testimonials area. Let's stick another folder in here, we'll call that call to action. And we're going to add a circle which is going to function as a sizable button. We'll use our deep red as the color, and we're going to put it centrally, slightly inwards, and we're going to drag that circle like so, and that's actually already prepared the multiplier and the opacity to 80%, so that just brings a little bit of the texture through, which is quite neat. Now I want to actually copy this little bit of text down here, so I'm going to drag that down there and put that in our call to action folder. This we're going to make centrally aligned, and we're going to color it the same as our button. We're just going to add a little bit of information so as to make it perfectly clear what's going on. There we go. And that we'll put underneath our button, centrally aligned like so. Then we could do with a nice big arrow to suggest a bit of direction. So let's just use a symbol like so, and enlarging that. We want that white to go in the center of the button, and okay, that's fine. Let's change the typeface to another free typeface, Quicksand, which you can go and grab on fontsquirrel.com. Just the normal one, the book, will be fine. That's way too big, so we're going to trim that down. Actually, let's use the bold. There we go, that's much more attractive. A bit smaller. And then we'll just shift that visually into the middle. It's not actually centered, but because of the form, you can see if you blur your eyes slightly, that looks more aesthetically pleasing if we just knock it to the right slightly, a bit more balanced. Okay, so that's going to act as quite a functional call to action. We've got our testimonial. That balances the page nicely. It's fairly striking. It aligns at the bottom there. Okay, that's very pleasant. Now, what we're going to do now is we want to add 3 images, 3 columns, each one containing an image, a title, and a bit of text. So we'll begin by just making a single column in our, we're going to call this team, and we're going to add column 1. Okay, that's going to go in the team folder there. Okay, let's bring up our guides and our grid so we can see what's going on. Now I've prepared 3 images. We're going to bring those in firstly, one at a time. So we go to File and Place. Alternatively, you can open them up separately and drag them in. I'm going to use the first face like so, and in it goes. Now it fits perfectly between these gutters and these columns, so we'll just double click that, and that's that done. So that actually belongs in our first column, so we'll leave that like so. I've also prepared a bit of text for each column, introducing each member of our happy staff. So this first guy is called John Smugman, and I'm just going to copy that text, and let's create a text area which matches the same width as our image there. So that is 4 columns and 5 gutters, like so. It wants actually to be left aligned, dark grey colour, and it's going to be just Arial for the body text as we discussed at 14 points, and obviously just regular. We're also going to make sure that that's got a fairly normal, where have we gone? Okay, what am I doing? Sorry, let's just get rid of those and drag it again. We've got all the settings correct. Okay, alright, we'll paste that in there. So we're on 14 pixels, 20 pixel line spacing. Let's just darken that up a touch. Okay, very neat. Now this is our header, and we're going to use our Lato or Lato typeface for that, which you'll remember from the previous screencast. It wants to be considerably bigger, so let's just drag that up to 30 pixels. Much better. And we'll increase the space just for this first character here, which will knock that slightly further away. Now let's edit this read more link at the bottom there. That's going to be the same red as our call to action button, and we're going to underline it like so. Okay, so we'll get rid of our guides and our grid once again. That's fairly clear. Alright, can actually add a little more spacing there and fit that like so. Actually, I want that title to be bold as well. We'll use our Lato bold. Maybe 28 instead of 30. Parfait. Okay. So that's got our first column in there. Now we want to, just to speed things up, let's duplicate these columns. We'll remove our auto select, drag up our guides, and drag this one along. That's going to be central, of course. So that fits on this one. And then again. And this fits on this one. Now we'll just rename these to keep things organized. Alright, now we need to get rid of a few of the images. That's incorrect. You can see these have been brought in as smart objects here, so double clicking on that will open it up as a separate image to edit, which is pretty handy. Okay, so let's get rid of that second one here, and also our third one, and then we'll just bring them in. Firstly, as we're editing the third column, we'll bring the third one in, like so, and then in our second column, file, place, and our second image. These can be whatever you like, of course, but I've just used a few of the sketches which I'd used in this presentation just for the sake of ease, and it suits the style of the site as well. So let's move those, add a little bit of spacing there. Okay, now I'm going to update our text. This second guy is called Barry Widegrin. Oops, that wants to be Arial. Actually, we'll select everything but the title. That's going to be Arial, normal, regular. And that was 14 pixels at 20 pixels line height. First letter across at 30, just to add a bit of spacing there. Then we have our third bit of text, like so. Here we go. 20 and 30 for the first character. And of course his name. There we go. So that gives us our three columns, our three images, our titles, a little bit of text, our call to action next to our testimonials there, so that serves as quite a good attention grabber. This is going to actually be a little interactive slideshow. We're going to rotate these testimonials just to add a little bit of dynamism. So we're going to need a little bit of navigation. So let's quickly just add that now. We have our three columns here and our team. We've got our testimonial, so now we'll add another folder there and call it nav. Stick it under the testimonial folder. Okay, this is going to be very straightforward. I'm literally going to add 4 circles. I'm going to colour them in our base green, and they're going to be centrally positioned. One button, 2, 3, 4. Okay, those are our 4 buttons. Now we'll just select the top one, drag it slightly over here, and this one over here. Then we'll select all 4 of them and distribute them evenly. Okay, that seems to be fairly well centered. And that needs to be knocked over one more, I think. There we go. Okay, now I'll highlight one of them, as that one's going to be our currently selected slide. Not that one. That one. Okay. So they're going to serve to illustrate our navigating through the testimonial slides. Now, of course, as we go along, we can alter the spacing on things as we go, and we can even do it in the browser as well. So that's not a problem at all. If I just click, for example, these 2 folders, that's our testimonial and our call to action. You just nudge those up slightly, and then also nudge up our navigation links a little bit. Okay, this is coming along nicely. Let's just Command and S that, So now we've pretty much dealt with this whole upper region. Very good. Okay, now let's jump back into our presentation where I'm going to tell you that the only assignment really for this piece of the series is to continue and build up our features section in the layout PSD. Now, next time on 30 Days to Your First Website Design, we're going to look at designing our contact form. I'm Ian Yates, and from all of us at Tuts Plus, thanks again for watching. Hi guys, welcome back to 30 Days to Your First Website Design, a Tuts Plus premium course. I'm Ian Yates, and today we're going to talk about our contact form. Now we'll begin as always by taking a quick look at what we're going to cover in this video. Well, firstly, we'll talk a little bit about usability before we jump straight into our layout file to continue with the design. Then with our form design complete, I'll leave you with an assignment before we move into the next video. Now, barely a website comes to fruition these days without including a form of some sort. Contact forms, newsletter sign-up forms, online checkouts, login forms, comment forms, they all invite users to enter information and submit it in order to complete a process. You'll remember we talked about goals and conversions earlier in the series, and forms are often a fundamental step in the user completing goals of some sort. They're also, therefore, a classic stumbling block. If ever there was a surefire way of preventing someone from completing an online process, it's presenting them with an awkward form. Take CAPTCHA for example. You'll have no doubt completed one in the past, and you'll have no doubt had to have had a couple of attempts at some point too. They're a great way of preventing spam from hitting your inbox, but they're also a significant hurdle for users. A CAPTCHA input runs a very high risk of turning users away. There being too many fields is also a turn-off. In our contact form, for example, we're only going to request the bare minimum information needed: name, email, and message. With this information, we can get in touch with the user. We don't need their address, their telephone number, shoe size, whatever. In short, we want our form to be as user-friendly and as easy to fill in as possible. Alright, let's dive into our PSD now and polish up our contact section. So we'll open up our PSD file from where we last left off. You'll notice one significant difference. For the sake of speed, I have added, let me just remove the grid there and the guides. I've added a map. We're going to implement this into the site using Google Maps. There are a couple of titles here, a little intro paragraph here, and some address details. Now we're going to add our contact form in on the right hand column. So let's begin by bringing back our guides and dragging a couple of, actually we're not going to select our map, we're going to select the mask around it and just drag a couple of guides down because we want our contact form to match up nicely with that. Now we'll begin in our column 2 folder here, and let's just add an input like so. So here we go with a rectangle tool. We'll make it white, and we're going to base it on an equal width column to this left hand column here. So that's from the gutter on the right here, and if we drag that all the way over, that comes to around about here. We won't be too particular with the heights or the dimensions of our inputs. We only need to be fairly rough with it. We can be specific when we're doing our markup. Now I'm going to select our map once again, and I'm going to copy the layer style because I want to emulate this green stripe I've put at the bottom of it. So I then go back to my input, and I'm going to paste the layer style like so. There we go. Don't need that stroke, I just need the drop shadow, which is the green line at the bottom. I'm going to call that input 1. So that's a good start. That goes in my input there. I also want a label, and I want it to be similar to this thing here, so I'm going to add a line of text here, and we're going to call this one name. Now that wants to be not droid serif, it wants to be Arial. just the same as our body text. It's